Going to look now at the first normal form and what is involved in that. So with our 1NF, our first normal form, what we're concerned with is removing repeating groups. So let's take a look at our example. And this is our table. So we have postgrad students and they have computers. So life is simple here, and each student has a designated computer, and you can see the reference to that in the last column there, in the last field there, and that seems to be fine-ish. That particular table. Now we're going to see that there's problems with that. And one of the things is that we'll see that good design anticipates change. And they always say that, for example, when you're building a house, to look at the stages, the family stages that are going to be required, and if that is anticipated in terms of the house that you have. Okay, so this is our table that we are going to see about putting into the first normal form. So let's get on with it. So, time moves on, and I'm looking now at the last field here. So, what happens is that students get other computers. So, they have their desktop PC, and then they might get a laptop, and they might get a Mac, and that. So, how do we accommodate that? And one way that you might be tempted to do that is to just add these additional computers into the same computer ref number field. And you could certainly do that technically in terms of if it's a text field and that, but it is problematic in terms of the way that data is stored and the way that data is retrieved. So this method is not going to work for us, and we need to basically move on and see if we can do it another way. Okay, so another way that you might think then is, well, sure, look, what we'll do is we'll create a repeating field, and we can have computer 1, computer 2, computer 3, and you might see that that's fine, but what if one student has 5 computers and another student doesn't have any computers? That's going to cause problems um, in terms of retrieving data. So this one isn't going to work either. So we need to move on, and we need to see about the correct way. Now that we've looked at the wrong ways of doing it, let's look at the right way to do it. So the right way to do it then is to say, okay, what's repeating? The field that's repeating is concerned with computers. So what we're going to do is we're going to separate that out into its own table. So that we've done here, and we can see that there's a record for each computer. And we need to be able to maintain a connection between the two tables. So that's why the student number has been added in there as well. So you can see here now, when you look at that link, you can see that student number appears only a single time and will only appear a single time in the table student, whereas if that student has numerous computers, then the student number will appear for each instance of those machines in the linked table. So looking at what's in yellow there, this is a one to many relationship. So the student number will appear once in the table student and may appear many times in the table student computer. Now that said, a student may only have one computer, um, but that's still a one-to-many relationship because it has the capability to record more than a single computer. And initially, and maybe indeed forever and a day, a student may not have any computer at all, and but the facility is there for them to record more than one or more than one computer, so that that's a one-to-many relationship. Now, another issue here is that with the student name, this needs to be atomized, and basically what that means is we can't have the first name and last name in the same field. So that's another issue with the first normal form that we need to sort out. Okay, so we have our one-to-many relationship, and this is how that's represented graphically. So you can see there the line up at the top, the one and the many at the far end. Sometimes that's called the crow's foot for obvious reasons. So that's representing the one to many. And the other thing that has been done then in this table is we have dealt with that issue of breaking up the first name and the last name. So you can see there now that there's a significant few changes that have been made. Okay, so what can we say then if if a database is in the first normal form? What can we say? Well, what we can say is we have separated the data um, into respective tables. Each of those tables then has a primary key, and that is used then to create the link between the two tables. So if our database satisfies these three criteria here, we can say that it is in the first normal form. And only when this has happened can we go into the next normal form. You can't skip one of these steps.